What's up, guys? Another episode on the Celica. Today we'll work on the alternator and we're going to put our fuel injectors in. Let's do it. Alright guys, so here we are. Basically what happened in the last episode was that we actually ended up breaking the condenser and having this line kind of causing us some trouble. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try and bend this line. We're going to try and install the alternator down in there, and hopefully we're going to get to wiring these fuel rail, the injectors up in the fuel rail. So let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to install the alternator right down here with this hose up here, and that'll give us the clearance that we need to bend this to fit the new condenser. So let's go ahead and install that alternator right now. So what we did now is we installed this alternator in, and basically what happened was this line for the AC was actually running up and over. I tucked this down and under now. So our connection line is actually right here, you can see. We tucked that under right where that coolant line goes down under there. So we have this up here. We have enough room to play with it and get it to actually mount through here and bend this. So that's what we're going to try and do with a pipe bender. So that makes this a little bit cleaner in the bay. We're going to avoid the lines. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these bolted up and get this mounted and sturdy, and then we can move forward and try and move this pipe. I think that's where we're going to go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up, set those bolts up, and I'll show you what I do. Alright guys, so our alternator is installed, pretty secure. One of the bolts is missing up here on this section. It's actually the same size as this. It's a reused alternator bolt for that mount. I'm going to go ahead and go to the hardware store, put it on the list to go get another one here. So we're going to go without it for now. Next up, for the belt side, we have everything lined up here. Boom, boom, it's all good. We have a kit tensioner pulley right here, and this is just a spacer that comes with the kit itself. So this is going to go on that second mount hole down here on that bracket that we put in right there, if you guys can see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this guy so we can tension the belt, and we're gonna get this in right now. Okay guys, so some time has passed as I've been filming, putting in that kit tensioner down here. I was going to move on to the injectors over on this line. We were going to take this out, we were going to wire them in this episode, but unfortunately I don't have those. So that's going to have to wait for a little bit. What exactly I don't have is I don't have the soldering gun. I know exactly where it's at. It's actually at my dad's work. He had taken it from the garage, so that's actually gone and away. I will pick it up tomorrow. We'll move forward with that. But for tonight, what we're going to do is keep working on the supercharger. I really want to utilize my time. So basically what we're waiting on is, like I said earlier, we're missing this bolt up here. So I need to go get a hardware piece here, which will finalize where the alternator is set. I don't want to exactly place the belt until that alternator is set, because if I run the belt and I'm trying to put this on, this is going to fling it forward and I might have a hard time putting this bolt in. So if we get some pressure on here from the belt, we might not be able to get on. So I want to get that finalized and then adjust the belt with the kit tensioner. So we're going to hold off on doing the belt tonight. We're going to hold off on doing the fuel injectors tonight. So what we are going to do is we're going to clean this up over here. I've already done this side. And what I've done is I've changed my throttle body over here to this kit intake. So what we did here is we did the same thing we did on the manifold, and we sanded this down and we got rid of all the gunk on it. So you want a nice clean finish that your sealant can adhere to. So you can see some oil running down on there, but that's okay. So what I did on this side was the exact same thing. As you can see, I just took some 500 grit sandpaper and a razor blade. I cut off all the old gasket sealant, and then I sanded it down. So we have a nice clean surface. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use the gasket material. We're gonna make our own for this section. We're gonna install that in right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up, and then we'll move on to that part. First thing that we're doing today is we're going to take off the fuel rail system right here. That's the fuel pipe. It's going to be two 12mm bolts. We're right here and right here. We're going to go ahead and take those off so we can get access to the injectors. Okay guys, so we undid those two 12mm bolts, and our fuel pipe right here is actually open. So what you can see is that you have these injectors that are right here. We have 4 of them because the 2ZZ is an inline 4. So basically all that these are connected with is just an O-ring on top. So when you do this, even though we did regulate the fuel pressure in episode number 1, basically what's going to end up happening is you're going to have fuel spray all over. But it is just an O-ring, and you can just pull these down and they'll pop out. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these guys out, and I'll get them ready so that way I'll show you guys with the wires what we need to do with our new 440cc injectors. Okay, so as you can guys see on that, all they are is just basically a little O-ring. You just pop them out. There is gas still in there, so be prepared. Do not have like an open flame or be smoking while you do this, please. I don't want to be at fault for that. So basically these are our injectors right here. They just have this top seal O-ring that just pops in like that. And then they have a bottom part that goes into the actual engine block. So we bolt these out. We're upgrading to 440cc. So I'll go ahead and get those, and I'll show you what we need to do with them to upgrade the fuel system in this car. Okay guys, pardon the interruption. Yesterday actually I cut my thumb super bad with a knife, and I was actually installing a hot water tank for my aunt, and I just destroyed my finger, and I got gas in it on this line when I was doing that. So I had to go change out a band-aid and kind of cover up my finger so I wouldn't be in pain. So what we're gonna do here is we have these old school GT-S injectors. Now I think that these are aftermarket. I don't actually know, but I believe that the GT-S ones are yellow and these are brown, but that's okay. Basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dropping in these bigger ones. So you can see the size difference of them, and I'll show you guys kind of the difference of what we're working with. And when you go force induction, this is something that you need to do always pretty much. So we have this this injector here, and I don't know if you guys can see that little nozzle. There's 4 nozzles right there, 4 little black dots. And on this one we have 3 absolutely huge dots. So I think you guys can see it right there. So these are going to be 440cc injectors. Basically the way it's going to work is that we're going to take these harnesses right here. We have a positive and a negative, and it's just as simple as cutting this right here. We're going to remove this connector pin to the stock injectors, and we're going to just solder in our new ones right here. So we'll have our connection pin to that. I'm going to go ahead and get started on cutting these. I'll show you one and I'll do the rest of them off camera, and that's just going to be how we drop in our injector. So let's just get right to it. Okay guys, so basically what we're going to do is we have our wire strippers here. We're going to use the cut feature. It'll just be like an open cut, and we're just going to cut off where this OEM harness is up here. These two wires, the one black and the one red. We're just going to cut this off as close as we can to this pin, so that way it saves us enough wire. And we'll set a heat shrink on it, lay some solder on it, and then we'll cover it up with all this electrical tape and just kind of get it all damage free. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this harness off, and we got 3 more to do down the line, but I'm going to go ahead and get this one cut. Okay guys, so those wire strippers were a little bit old, so it was kind of a little problem to cut those things, but we got them cut up here. Basically, we're just gonna peel this back a little bit and give us some room to lay some solder and lay some heat shrink. So here are our just wires running from the harness here. And what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna, when you solder these things, we just wanna bundle these up so that way all the wire is together. We're gonna strip off a little bit of this extra wire so that way we can connect these with really good ease. And don't forget to lay your heat shrink up before you get to your solder, so that way it'll lay. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the supplies to do this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so with the finger injury here, it's a little hard to do it all on camera, so it's taking me a little longer, and I don't want to bore you guys with that. So what I did was I stripped out the harness lines right here, as you can see, and I stripped the section from the injector connector right here. So now we have some wire to play with. We're gonna solder these up, and if you guys have never soldered, it's pretty easy. All you do is you just take like a hot solder pen with some solder, you dab it on there, and you get a connection going. So I'm gonna slip on my heat shrinks over here on this side, solder it up, and then I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like afterwards, and maybe I'll put in a little time lapse of what's going on as I'm doing it, if I have the ability to do it within a reasonable amount of time. But I'm thinking with this little bandage on my hand, it's gonna take a little longer than I want it to, and I don't want to bore you guys with that one. Alright guys, so basically we just have our soldering gun here, and we have our solder over here, and basically we're just going to lay a bead on each side of the wires just to connect them up. So I'm going to go ahead and do the negative now, and I'll show you guys what that looks like when I get it done. Alright guys, not super proud of that solder job just because it's kind of hard to kind of want to focus on filming, and also with this hand it's just being crazy. So anyways, basically we just got it under here. I got the heat shrinks over them, so I'm going to take a lighter and just do this up. Basically that's how we're going to wire in our injectors here, and that's pretty much it. So now, you know, this connector is now issued in. When we get our ECU tuned, they're going to tell it that it's bigger injectors. They're going to change around the ratios, so this will just kind of, we'll drop this into the same factory point like this. We'll face that connection port forward, and we're just going to plug and play with these things. I mean, really, it's just 2 wires that need to get cut in. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these 3 a little bit, take my time on it and not worry about recording it, and try and do some quality work on those ones and just get these guys soldered up. But if you guys don't know how to solder, it's pretty easy. But yeah, so if we're going to upgrade injectors, this is how we're going to do it. We'll take care of the rest of it in the ECU later, but I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these ones, and I'll check back in with you guys after I complete this one. Alright guys, so checking back in with you on what's going on with this, the progress of these. So we changed out all these. They're actually nice and taped up now, as you can see. Each one has its own new pin that's going to go to those 440 injectors. So we have them all done. They're all taped up. I'm pretty happy with the solder job on them. After I corrected that one, I actually went back after I shot that initial video. I went back and I redid all the solder lines on this one for both the positive and the negative, and I put heat shrink over them. I taped them all up, so everything is looking good. The connections are not going to break on these, so I know that. So what we're going to do is, I actually did on this one already, and I was actually live on Instagram asking people if I should, what their opinion was, and I think I was going to do it anyways. But there's these little isolators at the bottom here, and basically I'm switching all of them over from the injectors that I had in there to these new injectors that are going in. So you can see on this one it doesn't have an isolator, where this one does. So you see how there's that black component at the bottom down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap all those over to the ones that are on these injectors, because I know those injectors are good. I looked at all the isolators and they look good. All the O-rings that are on the injectors now are actually pretty good. None of them are dry and cracked, but we're gonna hit them with some lube, so that way they will stay that way, and that they will not dry out and crack on us. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over all those isolators, and in order to install our injectors back in, it's gonna be the same process but reverse. We're just gonna clip them in on this fuel rail, and just kind of pop all 4. We'll install it back in on here with the 2 12mm bolts, and we will be okay. That's actually everything we need to do here. The next thing that we need to do is we need to cut this open, cut this wiring harness open, and get this wire down to here, so that way we can plug it into our alternator. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the fuel injectors into here, and then I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, back again. Sorry I left you hanging on that one. Motorcycle came over, started working on that with my brother. It's now the next day. I'm actually going to end this video here and update you guys on the next video when I come in about what I did. A little bit went by, I just couldn't film it all. What we did was we installed those injectors, got them running. Everything worked good. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it there. We're going to upgrade the injectors in this episode and leave it at that. On the next one, we're going to work on the intake. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys subscribe if you like the project. Thanks. Peace.